Pokemon. Invincible Me, Stunned Cynthia. Chapter 1. Pokemon World, Sinnoh Region. The Sinnoh region is located in the northernmost part of the Pokemon world, where the latitude is high and the climate is cold. It is winter, and most of the Sinnoh region is almost covered by snow, and this forest is no exception. In this case, except those with special needs, or to hone their own Pokemon trainer, almost no one will go deep into this dangerous forest. However, just today, in the usually inaccessible forest, a group of unexpected guests suddenly ushered in. Garchomp. Dragon Star Swarm. Accompanied by a deep and powerful young voice, a shocking dragon roar suddenly sounded in the deep and quiet forest. Roar. The ear-piercing dragon's roar made the quiet forest tremble, and some Pokemon hidden in it were even more frightened by the headlong threat contained in the dragon's roar, and fled around. Immediately afterwards, a bright dragon meteor that seemed to contain everything in the sky slowly rose into the sky, and when the meteor rose to a certain height, it exploded with a bang. The dragon meteors all over the sky are like the real meteor shower normal. The small tails dragging the flames descend from the sky, which looks beautiful. But under this beautiful scene, what is hidden is an incomparable, terrifying, murderous intent. Boom boom boom. In an instant, terrifying dragon meteors fell from the sky, and the entire forest trembled violently. The bursting air wave shock wave engulfed Icarus in the icy cold wind, and it slapped people's faces coldly and stinging extremely. He forcibly endured the icy cold wind and the stinging pain from the tiny particles mixed in it hitting his face. Several people in silver-gray costumes covered the strong wind with their hands, staring at the white mist ahead with their eyes wide open. Huo Xing clenched his teeth, his wide eyes stared straight ahead from between his tiny fingers. The pure white figure looming in white storm made her look solemn. Who the hell is that? She is the executive of Team Galactic, a dark organization hidden underground in the Sinnoh region. Today she suddenly received a message that she was coming to this forest for a meeting. Although I was a little puzzled why they chose this inaccessible forest without warning, but when they thought of their leader, Cyrus, acting like a ghost as always. The partners who are absolutely loyal to the leader Cyrus will no longer be pursued. Anyway, she often receives some inexplicable orders. But when she first arrived in this forest, before she had time to communicate with the other executives who were also puzzled, she ran into this terrifying guy. The star's face was ugly. Although now because of the explosion and the blizzard, their sight is severely blocked. But the aura that came from that white mist was clearly announcing its existence. That heavy long way is shocking. After a while, the hurricane dissipated, and the white snow falling sparsely from the soaring in the sky finally could no longer block the line of sight. Looking at the several Team Galactic members in front of them who kept covering Hurricane with their hands and looked a bit embarrassed, Jimo nodded in satisfaction. Clap clap. Crisp applause echoed in this quiet forest. Jimo clapped his hands lightly, with a gentle smile on the corner of his mouth. It's not bad to be able to barely keep calm in this situation. Congratulations, you have successfully passed my test. You say this is a quiz. On the side is also the age star of Team Galactic Advanced Executive. Looking at the messy surroundings, like the surface of the moon that had just been ravaged by meteorite, and himself in a mess, Sui Xing's pupils shrank. Just like soaring in the sky normal with falling snow now, Sui Xing's heart is icy cold. Such a huge momentum, such a terrifying group of dragon stars, is it just a so-called test? Who the hell is he? Looking at the figure bathed in white snow in front of him, although Jimo's appearance can be convincingly called handsome from any angle. But it really made Sui Xing stiff at the moment. She gritted her teeth, her sharp eyes fixed on Jimo Shensheng. Who the hell are you? Why are you here? Could it be Alliance's running dog? No, it's really rude of Miss Sui Xing to treat me and those disgusting fellows from Alliance as one of the same group. Hearing this, Jimo raised his eyebrows, and the smile on his face showed a trace of coldness. Looking at Sui Xing in front of him with a cold face. Though he's not exactly a difficult, bad-natured guy. But to think of himself as a lackey of the Alliance like this old star really makes him a little dissatisfied. Garchomp on the side also seemed to have sensed the anger in his master's heart, normal, and his dragon eyes full of tyrannical killing intent stared at the embarrassed Sui Xing. In an instant, Sui Xing, who was already in a panic because of the attack of the Dragon Star group just now, felt as if her heart had been choked, and even her breathing was suddenly suffocated. Looking at Sui Xing, who kept retreating in fear, Jimo was satisfied. Immediately he changed the subject and continued. As for why I came here, this question is really interesting. Don't you think it's strange? Why did you suddenly receive such a strange assembly message? And the assembly place is in this place where the birds don't shit. Could it be? On the side, Zhen Xing, who had been watching silently from the beginning and thinking in his heart, suddenly shrank his pupils, and a terrible idea appeared in his mind. His complexion changed instantly, and he yelled out loudly. Could it be that you sent us that message? How is that possible? Suddenly, Zhengxing looked at Jimo as if he was looking at a monster. The person in front of him actually hacked into their communication system, and gathered all of them here without anyone seeing through. You must know that their Team Galactic is a dark organization hiding in the Sinnoh region and dominating it. As an organization that can fight against the Alliance, how can it be possible that there are no 3 or 2 brushes? This world is big, so nothing is impossible. The reason why you are so shocked is that after all, the layout is small. Seeing Zhengxing so surprised, Jimo smiled even more. Well, the steps to establish majesty are going well. Just when Jimo was thinking about how to continue to establish his majesty. Behind Zhengxing and the others. The man who had been hiding behind them without saying a word from the very beginning moved. He took 2 steps forward, looking at Jimo with eyes as calm as a pool of stagnant water. Tell me, what is your purpose in coming? If that's the case, then I have something to say. Jimo frowned, but he didn't expect the other party to be so direct. Immediately, the corners of Jimo's mouth curved into a strange arc. Submit to me. Team Galactic. Mr. Cyrus, please think carefully, otherwise. I would be very disappointed. Staring at Cyrus in front of him, Jimo spread his hands and said casually in a relaxed tone. Although the tone of his speech was very ordinary, no one dared to underestimate him because of this, but they became more and more dignified and frightened. Even Cyrus held back the rejection he was going to blurt out. The reason is because of strength. He has the strength to surpass everyone present. While waiting for the answer leisurely and comfortably, Jimo was also looking at the members of Team Galactic. Especially Cyrus. Jimo is a time traveler. He lived in a world called Aquamarine in his previous life. Because of an accident, he traveled to this Pokemon world in his previous life. And the person named Cyrus in front of him is the same as what Jimo learned in his previous life. This person has no heart. He has no mood swings, and no matter what he faces, no matter what he encounters, he always adopts calm and logical words and deeds. Even in the face of Garchomp, who was flailing his teeth and claws beside Jimo, there was no change in expression. And Jimo was not in a hurry, but looked at Cyrus, who was lost in thought with a relaxed expression. Regarding what he said earlier, he still has a lot of confidence in letting Cyrus and Team Galactic submit to him. Although Cyrus has almost no mood swings, he knows that Cyrus has his own ambitions, or obsessions. And if he wants to realize that obsession, he must live on. Sejimo is not panicking at all. Besides, even if Cyrus really doesn't intend to surrender, but wants to be tough to the end. At worst, just kill him. Anyway, what he wants is the entire Team Galactic, and there is no shortage of him. Unlike Jimo, who was calm, and even somewhat comfortable, the faces of the other Team Galactic executives were extremely ugly at the moment. White's robe fluttered in the snow, and his indifferent breath gave off a sense of detachment. Where did this guy come from? How dare he be so arrogant? Looking at Jimo, who seemed to be floating in front of him, Sui Xing gritted his teeth and looked solemn. She has been in Sinnoh for so long, and she has never heard of such a character. With such wild words, if it were her normal self, she would have gone up and let this ignorant kid see the cruelty of the world. The reason why she is so calm now. Purely because she can't beat Jimo. Several people glanced at the surrounding forest. What a powerful strength. They gulped at the same time, their eyes filled with the joy of surviving after the catastrophe. The 3 executives moved away from Jimo, and looked at the shockingly huge potholes around them, which were messy everywhere. The 3 couldn't help shivering, if the Dragon Star group just now had even a little deviation. Dare not dare to think. If so, I'm afraid they have become a mess. As the three executives of Team Galactic, they have been able to entangle with Alliance and have not overturned so far, and they have even turned the opponent helpless. Although the strength is not particularly strong, but the most basic eyesight is still there. This is definitely champion-level strength. The same thought arose in the hearts of the three of them. What is the concept of a champion? That is the handful of people who are at the top of the world. This is already a terrifying existence that completely surpassed them. The three of them stared at Jimo cautiously. When did such a strong man appear in Sinnoh region? The most important thing is that they don't know anything yet. Immediately afterwards, looking at Jimo's appearance that he didn't seem to be paying attention to them at all, Su Xing and the other three couldn't help but look at each other. It seems, there is something wrong. They all have their own arrogance in their hearts, and naturally it is impossible to bow down willingly because of Jimo's two words. There was a stern look in the eyes of several people. They wanted to take advantage of Jimo's negligence to sneak attack and make him pay the price. But just when their palms are about to touch their pokeball, a gentle voice suddenly resounded through the ice and snow without warning. A friendly reminder to you, don't think about anything you shouldn't have. Otherwise, I'm not sure what he would do. Believe me, that situation is something that no one wants to see. Although that voice sounded very gentle, like a casual conversation with an acquaintance, the meaning contained in it made the three of Zhen Xing extremely nervous. Was found. The hearts of the three suddenly sank. Garchomp standing next to Jimo suddenly focused. The overwhelming heavy aura, as well as the tyrannical killing intent contained in his dragon eyes, made the hearts of the three Team Galactic advanced executives crisscrossing the Sinnoh region tremble. Zhen Xing's expression changed, he gritted his teeth, and stared at Jimo and Garchomp with wide eyes. He asked himself that he is also a strong man who has seen the world, but even he has never seen such a terrifying Garchomp. Even the Sinnoh champion, I'm afraid that's it. Under Jimo's gentle persuasion and Garchomp's gentle gaze, the three of them finally gave up their original idea. They withdrew their hands from their waists, stared at Jimo closely, and said in a low voice unwillingly. Who the hell are you? Huh? Who do you think I am? Jimo finally moved his eyes away from Cyrus. Anyway, he couldn't think of a result after looking at him for a while. He raised his eyebrows and looked at Zhen Xing. He was quite tolerant of this man who would soon become his subordinate. That's right. He has decided that Team Galactic will definitely be in his pocket. He said it. Arceus came and it didn't work. Since you are not from the Alliance, who are you? What organization is standing behind you? Looking at Jimo in front of him who didn't answer directly, but threw the question back, Zhen Xing couldn't help frowning. He believes that behind Jimo, there must be a terrorist organization not weaker than their Team Galactic. If it weren't for the huge backup, it would be absolutely impossible to control their whereabouts so easily, and even be able to do such a thing. Absolutely impossible. Even Zheng Xing quickly listed several possible objects, and the most likely of them. Zhen Xing's expression froze, he looked at Jimo and said in a deep voice. Could it be the Kanto region rockets? Kyogre and Groudon, the respective suitors of Fengyuan region's Water Fleet and Fire Rock team, are fighting each other's brains, and he doesn't think they will have the time to set foot in their Sinnoh. And several other regions, such as Unova Carlos, are too far away from Sinnoh. Coming across Wang Yang Sea is completely thankless behavior. Then after excluding these options, the most likely result is the Kanto region rockets. Powerful, even more terrifying than their Team Galactic. And the development of the rockets in the Kanto region has almost reached a bottleneck, so it is also a reasonable guess that they want to get involved in other regions to grow stronger. Zheng Xing thought he had guessed the correct answer. As for Jimo, looking at Zheng Xing with a determined face in front of him, the expression on his face was full of astonishment. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Wanton laughter reverberated in this space, making Zheng Xing even more puzzled. He thought there was nothing wrong with his guess, so he couldn't understand what Jimo was laughing at. Finally, the dissatisfaction in his heart overwhelmed Zhen Xing's fear of Jimo. What are you laughing at? Under Zheng Xing's increasingly dissatisfied gaze, Jimo finally stopped his wanton laughter. I'm sorry. Because your guess deviated too far, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. He wiped away the non-existent tears from the corner of his eyes, and looked at Zhen Xing with a smile. Then can you tell me? What is the reason that made you make such a self-righteous and extremely biased guess? Big fire, really hot. Zhenxing glared dissatisfiedly at Jimo, clenching his teeth. What this guy said was really annoying. That's right. What Jimo said is really owed. Even though Jimo has a pretty handsome face and strong strength, Zhenxing still wants to punch him in the face. To be reasonable, his guess is obviously very logical. After hearing Zhen Xing's explanation, Jimo nodded slightly and said in a compliment. So, based on the information you have, this is indeed the most likely answer. But unfortunately, your guess is wrong after all. I am not a rockets person, and Giovanni of the Rockets has no interest in crossing oceans to set foot in Sinnoh. Now he is probably thinking about how to deal with Kanto Alliance. Zhengxing, who was dissatisfied again because of Jimo's slightly mocking words, was quickly overwhelmed by the heavier information contained in Jimo's words. He stared at Jimo with wide-eyed eyes, and exclaimed in disbelief. What did you say? The leader of Team Rocket is Giovanni. Is it the Giovanni from the Viking Gym? In the Pokemon world, almost every region has a corresponding dark organization. They are Team Galactic in Sinnoh, Water Fleet and Fire Rock in Hoenn region, Team Plasma in Unova region, Team Flare Skeleton and so on. And among all these dark organizations, if you want to choose the strongest one, it is undoubtedly the Rockets of Kanto region. On this point, even if Zhenxing had many dissatisfaction in his heart, he had to admit it. Their Team Galactic is far inferior to the Rockets. And as the most powerful dark organization in the world, there are naturally many people who are curious about the helm behind it. But no matter who it is, no matter what methods they use, they can't find any news about the real controller of the Rockets. And now, the person in front of him said it so lightly. The Rockets and Giovanni, they all know the two names Zhengxing. After all, they are quite famous figures in this world. But even if they think about it, they will definitely not be able to connect these two nouns together. Because that is too unbelievable. Huh. Is it possible that there are still so many people named Giovanni in this world? Jimo asked back with a faint smile, his lips parted slightly, and his voice with a bit of evil taste was extremely clear in this icy world. That's right. It's the Giovanni you're thinking of. One of the 8 gymnasiums in the Kanto region, the owner of the Viking Gymnasium, the man called Giovanni of the Earth. For a moment, the 3 top executives of Team Galactic were all in deep shock because of the amount of terrifying information contained in Jimo's plain words. It turned out to be true. The leader of Team Rocket, a dark organization that opposes the Kanto region Pokemon Alliance, is actually the owner of Viridian Gym, one of the 8 gyms in the Kanto region. What a shocking fact. So that's it. The leader of Team Rocket is the owner of Changpan Gym. No wonder they can't find any clues no matter how much they investigate. Because these two identities are completely irrelevant on the surface. That's right. Who would have thought that the boss of Team Rocket, the dark organization that makes the Kanto Alliance a headache, is the high level of their alliance. And he is also the owner of the gymnasium. Because the identity of the owner of the Viking Gym is the best cover. The 3 of Zhengxing murmured in disbelief. They finally knew why no one could find the boss of the Rockets. Jimo on the side looked at the 3 people who were in shock and looked a little dazed. The corner of his mouth curled into a malicious arc, he reminded, kindly. Compared to Giovanni's identity, I think the second news should be more shocking, right? Second message. Because he had received too much shocking news just now, Zhenxing and the others had lost their minds, he said in a daze. And the next moment, when he reacted, his eyes widened immediately. You mean the Rockets are going to take on the Kanto Alliance? The current Kanto region has not yet been split, so it is undoubtedly the largest region in the Pokemon world. At the same time, the Kanto region is also the birthplace of the Pokemon Alliance. The Kanto Alliance standing on the Indigo Plateau is the headquarters of the Pokemon Alliance. Occupying a huge region with rich resources and a combination of other conditions, Kanto Alliance is undoubtedly the recognized No. 1 alliance. In the past, the Rockets have always been against this first alliance. Of course, Zhenxing knows that the things that can be specifically mentioned by Jimo will definitely not be the usual trivial matters as before. The deal with, he said, must have a deeper meaning. Maybe topple the entire Pokemon Alliance. Zhengxing's face was horrified, and he quickly guessed the deep meaning of Jimo's words. And it was precisely because the information contained in it was so shocking that he couldn't help but doubt the authenticity of this news. Is this true? These dark organizations sound like they are against the Alliance, but in fact they are just lingering in the shadow of the Pokemon Alliance. They don't have the strength to confront the Pokemon Alliance head-on. This is exactly why Zhengxing felt so incredible about Jimo's words. Nature. Jimo didn't seem to realize how shocking news he had said, and his expression was still extremely flat. Whether it is strength or structure, the rockets are much stronger than you. It's not like Team Galactic, indulging in the illusory, big dream, of creating a new world all day long. Among all the bosses of the Dark Organization, Giovanni is a well-deserved choice in terms of ability, courage, and strength. In terms of ability, it can be seen from his ability to develop the rockets to cover the Kanto region like this, absolutely impeccable. In terms of courage, being able to resolutely launch a decisive battle against Kanto Alliance in Saffron City when the rockets were at their strongest, we can also see that Giovanni is an extremely courageous person. The strength is even more outrageous. Giovanni is obviously one of the 8 gymnasium owners in the Kanto region, and he even has the title of the strongest gym owner in the dark. Giovanni called Earth. And this is only his apparent strength. Few people know that Giovanni's real trump card is a Beedrill. That's right. That's the bug pet Pokemon that can be seen everywhere on the roadside, and most trainers don't even bother to look at it. But it is such a weak Pokemon, but Giovanni can forcibly temper it to the extreme. His Beedrill is like a god. Compared with Giovanni like this, the leaders of all other dark organizations in the region are a bit eclipsed, even their Team Galactic is the same. Still, that's not too bad. Thinking of this, Jimo couldn't help but glance at Cyrus beside him. To be fair, if Cyrus is as impeccable as Giovanni in strength, courage and ability, then he really has no chance of winning Team Galactic from the opponent. So, it's better to be weak or weak, at least it's much easier for him to grab. Being despised by Jimo, Huo Xing and Sui Xing couldn't hold back before Zhengxing said anything. Although the two of them don't get along very well with each other, they are equally loyal to Cyrus, and it is rare to stand on the same front now. Shut up. How dare you insult Lord Cyrus' ideals so contemptuously? He wants to create a whole new world. The buddy and the old star gritted their teeth. Rage stared at Jimo and retorted. Those burning eyes seemed to want to kill Jimo swallow. The two of them are extremely loyal to Cyrus. In the original book, Cyrus was dragged into the world of destruction by Giratina, and they did not give up and wanted to find him. On the contrary, Zhengxing, after the downfall of Cyrus, ran away quite decisively. And what makes Jimo even more ridiculous is that Huo Xing and Sui Xing are two people who are extremely loyal to Cyrus. Although they are the 3 executives of Team Galactic like Zhengxing, their status is even a little lower than Zhengxing. In other words, in the eyes of Cyrus, the loyalty of these two people is not as important as Zhengxing lie. Jimo smiled contemptuously, with a mocking arc on the corner of his mouth, looked at the two and said, "Great dreams. After all, they are just indulging in vain fantasies. Cyrus, he is an empty and heartless man after all. Even your loyalty is worthless in his eyes." There was a strong sarcasm in Jimo's tone, the two were so eager to show their loyalty to Cyrus. But as everyone knows, in the eyes of Cyrus, who is extremely rational and has no emotion, their so-called loyalty is worthless. Immediately, Jimo's face turned cold, and a terrible pressure pressed from him towards the two of them. Besides, who allowed you two to be so rude to me? He is not a difficult person to get along with. Before, he did not hesitate to teach Zhengxing to solve his doubts and satisfy his thirst for knowledge. But this does not mean that he can accept that the two of them are rude to him. Those who offend themselves by uttering wild words should bear the corresponding price. Just right, you can also use this to establish your own absolute authority. Garchomp. Just as Jimo said normal, he suddenly raised his head without warning, and looked at the soaring in the sky with Icarus flying overhead. He could sense that in the distance of his line of sight, there was a powerful aura driving the blizzard of winter, galloping towards this side. That's a train. A very strong dragon. That undisguised domineering Longwei is wantonly venting his sense of existence in this icy world. But the companions and Sui Xing on the side didn't stop because of Jimo's sudden trance. A gleam flashed in their eyes, and they thought they had seized the opportunity. The two quickly threw a pokeball, staring at Jimo in front of him with excited faces. They will make this person who insulted Lord Cyrus pay the price he deserves. Purugly. Shadow Claw. Skuntank. Night Slash. As for Genxing on the side, he didn't make any sound from the beginning to the end, and he didn't even have the slightest plan to make a move. He just quietly watched all this with cold eyes. There was even a little mockery and pity in his calm eyes. That's a mockery of fellow stars and year stars. How stupid. How could a strong man like Jimo suddenly lose his mind in battle? This world is cruel. It's not like in the anime of the previous life, Pokemon's skills can't kill people no matter what. In this real world, Pikachu's Thunderbolt and Charizard's Flamethrower can really chop people into coke. And in such a real and cruel world, no one who can grow into a strong person is a fool without a heart. Something like a sudden trance during a battle will never happen. Because, the person who would do such a stupid thing has already died in some ravine. Sure enough, Purugly and Skuntank followed the command of their master and rushed forward. And just when their claws wrapped in ghost and dark-type energy are about to touch Jimo, White's barrier rises suddenly without warning. The pure white Iceris is like a curtain of normal, completely engulfing the attacking Purugly and Skuntank figures, while also blocking the sight of their respective masters. In an instant, two muffled sounds came from the sweeping blizzard. Pung pung. Immediately afterwards, two black shadows were seen flying backwards with lightning speed. Boom. It was too late to react. Huo Xing and Sui Xing only felt the two black shadows passed by their ears and crashed on the ground behind them. Great earthquake trembles, Iceris soars. The cold wind engulfing them made their cheeks hurt even more from the biting cold wind. Huo Xing and Sui Xing's eyes widened and their pupils constricted. It was obvious that they were in the snow and ice, but they were still covered in cold sweat from being frightened. The two of them were fighting, and the middle part was a little wet. When the cold wind blew, his stiff body shivered even more. They were completely terrified. There was never a moment when the two of them felt that death was so close to them. White's snow curtain dissipated. I saw a ferocious Tyrannosaurus stopping in front of Jimo with an endless tyrannical aura. Its ferocious dragon eyes stared at Huan Xing and Sui Xing. As if being stared at by wild beasts, the two of them froze all of a sudden, not daring to move. It's really stupid. Is it because Sinnoh Alliance did nothing to us in the past, that's why you have developed such arrogant personalities? Looking at the two Zan, who were trembling with the sense of crisis of death, Genxing looked contemptuously. Originally, he chose to join this Team Galactic because he was interested in Cyrus and his ideals. But now, he's starting to have doubts about his decision to join Team Galactic. For that matter, are they really qualified to fight the Pokemon Alliance? No, maybe. Gen Xing's eyes shone with a different kind of brilliance, looking at Jimo who was smiling freely from the beginning to the end. He seems to have found someone more interesting and worth following than Cyrus. Maybe it's not too bad for Team Galactic to be subordinated to Jimo like this. Although he knew that Cyrus' purpose was to create a new universe, Jinxing didn't know the whole picture of the plan. But now, he didn't care about Cyrus' mysterious plan anymore. Compared with Cyrus, this person in front of him made him more curious. And Jimo still doesn't know it. He has already convinced one of the three executives of Team Galactic in this short period of time. He didn't even look at the petrified buddies and year stars, even though they were already Jimo's intended subordinates. But now they are too weak, no matter in terms of strength or character. His eyes kept looking at the vast horizon in the distance. And now, far away from Jimo's line of sight, there is a woman wearing a black coat and long hair like a waterfall of normal gold, riding on the back of a ferocious Tyrannosaurus, galloping through the blizzard. If someone sees this figure, they will be able to recognize it in surprise. This person is the one who just won the championship at this year's Lily of the Valley Conference and successfully challenged the Sinnoh Elite Four to succeed the champion. Champion of Sinnoh, Cynthia. And what she sat down was the representative Pokemon of Cynthia, Garchomp. As the newly appointed champion of Sinnoh, Cynthia originally had a lot of documents to be resolved urgently, and the pile of documents made her breathless. And it was at this time that Sinnoh Alliance suddenly hijacked a strange message. And according to the analysis of professionals, this information is likely to be related to Team Galactic, a dark organization that has been very active recently in the Sinnoh region. As the new champion of Sinnoh, Cynthia took on this task without hesitation. Originally, she didn't take this task very seriously. After all, these dark organizations are scary, but after all, they are nothing more than some small troubles that can only be played in the shadow of the Alliance. And as a champion, she has absolute confidence in her own strength. So she came out this time more with the idea of fishing and relaxing. After all, dealing with documents is very tiring. Especially for her, a person who suffers from choice suffering. Every time I sign a name, I have to think for a long time. But the original idea of fishing, when he saw the group of dragon stars that shot straight into the sky just now, was thrown to the back of Cynthia's mind in an instant. She left behind a lot of Alliance staff, riding Garchomp as the first horse forward. The Dragon Star group just now is definitely not from the Pokemon of common. In daily life, Cynthia is like an elegant and intellectual royal sister, she looks very easy to get along with. But now, she has fully entered the battle contest condition, just like the cold and invincible goddess of war normal. Cynthia stared at the place where the Dragon Star group came out in front of her, her brows were furrowed, and her face was a little dignified. Although she is not a trainer specializing in dragons, her trump card is the quasi-god of dragons, Garchomp. Therefore, I also have a good understanding of the dragon's ultimate move, the Dragon Star group. And judging from the momentum created by the Dragon Star group just now, the Pokemon that used that Dragon Star group must be quite terrifying. Probably not even worse than his own Garchomp. This is extremely terrifying. Want to know who she is? She is a Sinnoh champion. The strongest in this region. Garchomp is Cynthia's undisputed trump card. And now, a strong man who might be comparable to himself, the champion of Sinnoh, appeared out of thin air. There was a fighting spirit in Cynthia's beautiful eyes. Although he is not a battle-loving person, as a Pokemon trainer, when he encounters a strong man who is close to his own strength, he will inevitably feel passionate. But immediately, Cynthia suddenly remembered something, and her complexion sank. Before Sinnoh Alliance said that the news is likely to be the collection news of Team Galactic, in that case. Cynthia's heart suddenly sank. If it is said that there is a gathering place of Team Galactic, then is that unknown strong man also a member of Team Galactic? In this world, a powerful Pokemon trainer can be quite scary. It is not impossible for one person to form an army. And a champion trainer like them is even more terrifying, like a natural disaster in human form. In the special manga of the original book, Yulongdu, one of the Kanto Elite Four, even used his Dragonair to destroy the largest port in the Kanto region, Vermilion City, in an instant. From this we can see how terrifying the powerful trainer is. No. You must hurry up. Cynthia's face is solemn. As the champion of Sinnoh, she has the duty to protect this region. Although she didn't know what the people from Team Galactic were doing here, she had to go forward to stop them, at least to collect some information about this unknown powerhouse. Of course, she is not a reckless man who only knows how to rush forward. Cynthia has absolute confidence. Even if there is Team Galactic's trap in front of her, even if she loses, she will be able to retreat unscathed. This is her confidence as a champion. Garchomp, speed up. Just. Accompanied by a shocking dragon roar, Garchomp's speed soared, leaving the falling Iceris far behind him. In the distance, among the ruins of meteorite pits, Jimo looked away from soaring in the sky and turned to look at the team at Team Galactic. He shrugged and said with some regret. It seems that we have to wait until later to have a good chat. Zhen Xing frowned, he was a little puzzled. Did Jimo give up so easily? Can't. But just when he was about to say something, the sudden sound of breaking through the sky from the distant soaring in the sky attracted the attention of him and the rest of Team Galactic. Everyone's complexion suddenly changed, and someone came again. The faces of Huan Xing and Broken Xing were even more ugly. They thought that the person who came was Jimo's companion. And just one Jimo put them in such a mess, it's hard to imagine what it would be like to have another one. Is it with you? No, unfortunately not. Jimo shook his head rather flatly in denial. He is a complete loner, and he doesn't even have a soldier under his command. If it weren't for this, he wouldn't have approached Team Galactic to try to subdue them. It's really because there is no one at hand. Yeah. Huo Xing and Broken Xing looked suspicious. Obviously, they didn't believe Jimo's words. They didn't have the slightest liking for this person who didn't hesitate to make a move just now, even scaring themselves to the point of peeing. As if he didn't notice the suspicion in their eyes, Jimo ordered to himself. Go back to the headquarters first, I'll meet this mysterious visitor. There was a little heat in his words. The breath of that dragon is already very close. As an experienced trainer, he could already sense that it was definitely a very powerful dragon. Roar. Garchomp on the side also had a strong fighting spirit. The dragon eyes filled with endless tyranny stared fixedly at the figure that had already shown a black spot. Dragons are quite a proud and tyrannical race, even Pokemon. And the dragon in soaring in the sky, who unscrupulously vented his aura, in the eyes of Garchomp at this moment, is completely taunt. A violent and ferocious aura like a prehistoric beast filled this ice and snow land. You actually ordered us so arrogantly. Huo Xing and Sui Xing gritted their teeth, and the anger in their hearts couldn't stop rising. As the lawless villain Team Galactic, when did they suffer such humiliation? The Sinnoh Alliance has nothing to do with them, even the leader Cyrus has never let them suffer such humiliation. But in the end, the two of them calmly suppressed the anger in their hearts. Because the aura of Garchomp beside him is really terrifying. Make their legs tremble, don't they? And Cyrus in the distance was more straightforward. After Jimo spoke, he glanced at the little black dot on soaring in the sky, and walked away decisively. It's almost gone now. So the remaining three executives took a look at Jimo, then turned around and left from the bottom of their hearts. Stop. And just when the few people had just walked out, the ear-piercing sound of piercing the air arrived. The powerful air wave swept away the snow on the ground, and a ferocious and tyrannical figure descended from the sky. And at the moment when this fierce figure fell, a blonde figure suddenly rolled over from behind it. Gold's long hair fluttered in White's iris, coupled with Cynthia's cold face at the moment. It made the Sinnoh champion look like a real Valkyrie normal at the moment. Awe-inspiring but inviolable. Stop. As soon as she got off Garchomp's back, Cynthia looked at the leaving figures in the distance and shouted coldly. That distinctive outfit let her distinguish at a glance, that was the target she was looking for, Team Galactic. The aura that belonged exclusively to the champion, and Garchomp's great power, pressed towards several people together. She is a Sinnoh champion. The purpose of her trip here is for Team Galactic. On the contrary, Jimo, who was right in front of her eyes, was selectively ignored by her. It was attacked by Cynthia's sharp sight like a sharp sword normal, and Garchomp's dragon power. In an instant, the three of Zhen Xing were like a mouse being targeted by a cat, stiff all over, and dared not move. They were afraid that if they moved, the people behind them would suddenly step forward and attack without hesitation. Looking at the few people who stopped like wooden figures because of Cynthia's words. Although Jimo knew that they were probably intimidated by Garchomp's dragon power, he still couldn't help but feel a little speechless. To be fair, you guys are villains. What does it mean to be frightened by an official word? It seems that the building of the psychological endurance of Team Galactic members needs to be put on the agenda as soon as possible. Jimo thought quietly in his heart. After all, Team Galactic was his reserve subordinate. Even if his strength is a little bit off, at least he can't be intimidated by such a casual sentence, can he? And Jimo raised his eyebrows slightly. He looked at the blonde lady in front of him with great interest, and said with a little playfulness in his tone. You just ignored me like this, Miss Cynthia, don't you think your behavior is a little too arrogant? Being ignored like this made him a little dissatisfied. And Cynthia seemed to have just noticed Jimo, her sharp eyes retracted from the three of Zhen Xing. Who are you? The moment she saw Jimo, Cynthia's beautiful brows furrowed and her sharp eyes relaxed. Doubts were written on his exquisite face, and he stared blankly at the handsome figure in front of him. For some reason, she always felt that the person in front of her was somewhat familiar. Jimo raised his eyebrows, always feeling that there was something wrong with the way Cynthia looked at him. But soon he put the question behind him. After all, since he intends to take the path of the villain boss, he must maintain his compulsion, right? He bent down slightly, performed an impeccable gentleman's etiquette to Cynthia, and introduced himself with a smile. It's an honor to meet the champion of Sinnoh here, next. But just in the middle of Jimo's self-introduction, Cynthia's face suddenly changed. Immediately afterwards, the confusion on her pretty face was transformed into joy in an instant. Cynthia's beautiful eyes stared closely at Jimo, and a special radiance bloomed on her delicate face. You're Jimo. Last year's Lily of the Valley Conference winner. Jimo. Miss, you are wrong. This world is dominated by Pokemon, and a powerful Pokemon trainer can even become an army with one force and have the status of being above 10,000 people. And in this world, there are also events similar to the Olympic Games in the previous life, and even more important. Alliance Contest. Alliances in each region will hold alliance competitions, such as the Indigo Plateau Conference of the Kanto Alliance, the Evergrande Conference of the Hoenn Alliance, the Vertress Conference of the Unova Alliance, and so on. And in their Sinnoh region, the name of the alliance competition is Lily of the Valley Conference. And Jimo is the winner of the last Lily of the Valley Conference. Zhen Xing and the others, who were walking far away and didn't want to go or not, unexpectedly heard the news about Jimo. They looked at Jimo with some surprise, they didn't expect him to have such a heroic past. And why would such a person say such distasteful words about alliance? You must know that the alliance champion, and such a young and powerful alliance champion, almost means that he has an infinitely bright future. Just like Cynthia now. And it was such a person who openly expressed his dislike for alliance. Looking back on Jimo's previous almost undisguised disdain and dislike for alliance, Zhen Xing became more and more interested in him. There must be quite a secret hidden behind this. Only then did Jimo realize that he had indeed participated in the last Lily of the Valley Conference, and even won the winner's position. It's just that the history and some unpleasant things that happened after that made him selectively ignore this point. Thinking back to the distant past, and those people of all kinds, Jimo's eyes were a little cloudy. Those scum. Immediately, he hid the gloom in his heart again, and smiled lightly with a smile on the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect my name to be remembered by the esteemed champion of Sinnoh, that would be an honor. But even so, this doesn't seem to be enough to make Cynthia so excited, does it? Jimo was a little surprised. You must know that the person standing in front of you is the champion of Sinnoh region. In other words, she is the winner of this year's Lily of the Valley Conference, and successfully challenged the Elite Four. The most important thing is to ascend to the champion position representing the strongest in a region. In front of such a regional champion, even the winner of the Alliance Conference should not be taken too seriously. Mr. Jimo is really good at joking, even if I am the champion of Sinnoh, but I am just a trainer of common. Cynthia pursed her lips and smiled. She was not the kind of character who would be proud of being the champion of Sinnoh. Not to mention that the person in front of him is Jimo. Why is Cynthia so excited to see Jimo? So let's start with the past. Perhaps because of the family environment, Cynthia likes to study the history legendary very much. Even after she became the champion in the original book, she often ran around among the ruins in various places without doing business. Originally, she thought that she would become a historian just like her grandmother. But all this, at a certain moment, changed. At that time, she accidentally saw the Lily of the Valley Conference broadcast on TV at home. Cynthia, who was just looking around casually, was completely attracted when she saw that figure. The nearly invincible dragon of the earth crushed all enemies, and the cold and arrogant command Pokemon brutally suppressed all rival trainers. Let a small seedling sprout in Cynthia's heart. And that person is Jimo. It can be said that Jimo is almost half of Cynthia's mentor, and even she chose Garchomp because of the influence of the original competition. Originally, Cynthia thought that Jimo would definitely become the Elite Four and even the champion, and she also planned to follow in the footsteps of Jimo. But, after becoming the winner, Jimo disappeared like a human being. Let Cynthia search everywhere, but she can't find any trace. So far, the memory is over. Cynthia's beautiful eyes covered with memories refocused, staring closely at the handsome man in front of her. After a long time, seeing this person who can be called an idol in her heart in person, how could she not feel excited? Jimo, why are you here? Could it be that you have been concentrating on training during the year you have been missing? Are you here to deal with Team Galactic now? Cynthia, who came back from the memories, immediately looked at Jimo with her beautiful eyes, talking nonstop like a cannonball. Perhaps because she noticed Jimo's subtle expression, Cynthia also realized that her actions just now were really a bit rude. Her cheeks were slightly red, and she coughed lightly and said in a ladylike way, "I'm very sorry, I'm sorry. Please let me introduce myself again, my name is Cynthia." Jimo nodded. She looked at Garchomp who was standing next to Cynthia, releasing the chilling dragon power and admired. "Miss Cynthia is the champion of Sinnoh. Of course, I have heard about it, including this Garchomp, but it is also quite good for breeder. Whether it's the sharp dragon eyes, or the strong body shape, and the brilliant dragon power, they all tell Jimo that this Garchomp is well cultivated. There is no doubt that he is extremely close to the limit of Pokemon. Thank you for the compliment." Hearing that Cynthia is also a lady, she pursed her lips and smiled, and she was very happy to be praised by the person she once dreamed of. After all, she decided to embark on this road in the first place to follow in Jimo's footsteps. Immediately she also looked at Jimo's Garchomp. A strange brilliance bloomed in her beautiful eyes. "Jimo, your Garchomp is also well trained." This is not just pure business mutual praise, but Cynthia's heartfelt admiration. From the first time she saw it, she was attracted by this domineering and invincible master and servant. And now it's even more so. You must know that she is a champion, the most powerful existence in a region. And Garchomp is her trump card. But Jimo's Garchomp is no worse than her. Cynthia looked around, and the meteorite pits all over the place were like hideous scars, which looked shocking. On the way here, I saw a dragon-type Pokemon here using the Dragon Star Cluster. Could it be that Jimo, your Garchomp is using it? Although it was an inquiry, Cynthia already had a result in her heart. Apart from Jimo's Garchomp, there is absolutely no other dragon-type Pokemon this strong in Sinnoh. This is her pride, her judgment based on her champion status. In the distance, the trio of Team Galactic still locked by Cynthia's Garchomp Longway, when they saw the two people who seemed to be talking very harmoniously over there. They were almost on the verge of crying. "You guys had a great chat, so why don't you take a look at us?" Almost scared to death. They are not fools, and naturally want to take advantage of this opportunity to escape. But they dare not move. Although Cynthia was concentrating on chatting with Jimo, Garchomp was not. It felt like being stared at by a prehistoric beast, which made several people feel like they were on their backs. Not daring to move. On the contrary, Cyrus has long since disappeared. The trio of Team Galactic is going through the day like a year, suffering like a light on their backs. On the other side, Cynthia and Jimo can be said to be in a good mood. She blinked her big eyes, and guessed with some joy. "Jimo, did you also come here because of these Team Galactic talents? The Dragon Star group was used just now to prevent these Team Galactic people from escaping, right?" As she spoke, Cynthia stretched out her palm, which was whiter and tenderer than Snow White, and pointed at the trembling Team Galactic trio who were cautiously lowering their sense of existence. And Jimo also followed the direction Cynthia pointed at, so he was surprised to find out. These three make Sinnoh Alliance helpless, and the name is the advanced executive of Team Galactic whose name can make the children of Sinnoh region stop crying. At this moment, it is like a student who was called by the teacher in class, standing there stupidly, not even moving. I noticed the gazes of Cynthia and Jimo, and the terrifying dragon power of the two Garchomps that accompanied their respective masters. The trio shrank their heads silently, like quail shrunk their heads to keep warm. Jimo. Looking at the three quails in front of Normal, Jimo was speechless. "I'm all here to help you hold Cynthia. Why are you three still standing there motionless like idiots? Is this waiting to be caught back to Alliance by Cynthia and then go to jail?" If Jen Xing and the others knew what Jimo was complaining about, they probably couldn't help but utter their grievances on the spot. They want to run too. But Jimo held back Cynthia, but Garchomp on the other side is staring at them. This distance, let alone running. If Garchomp moves, they won't even have a chance to counter with a Pokeball. And it was at this time that Officer Jenny, who had been dropped by Cynthia before, and many Alliance staff members arrived. A lot of snowmobiles appeared behind Cynthia in a very short time, and one of the leaders, Officer Jenny, stepped on the soft snow and said with a little apology. I am very sorry, Champion Cynthia, we are late. The Jenny family is responsible for security work within the scope of the Pokemon Alliance. They and the other Joey family are also giants in the Pokemon Alliance. However, even such a big family member must be respectful in front of Cynthia, the champion of Sinnoh. First of all, there is a gap in positions. Although they do not belong to the same system, Cynthia's champion status is undoubtedly higher than Officer Jenny. As for the second is strength. In this real world, there is no doubt that the strong are doubly respected, not to mention that Cynthia is also the first female champion in history. It can be said that she is now the all-people idol in Sinnoh region. Especially for those women. And this one is. As she said that, Officer Jenny looked at Jimo with some hesitation. When she saw Jimo, Officer Jenny's eyes suddenly lit up. With a handsome face, a calm demeanor, and those deep and energetic eyes, even when facing her, Officer Jenny, she didn't lose her composure at all, but just smiled at her faintly. Just this first impression made Officer Jenny pay attention to him involuntarily. This person is definitely not normal. And Garchomp, next to Jimo, is even more telling. This is the quasi-god of the Sinnoh region. Normal people have never even seen it with their own eyes, let alone cultivated to this level. Besides, Officer Jenny glanced at Cynthia beside him from the corner of her eye. He and the Sinnoh champion in front of him seemed to have a very good relationship. The almost undisguised joy in Cynthia's eyebrows and eyes could not be hidden from her. Suddenly, Officer Jenny's heart trembled. Even if the friends of the strong are not strong, they must be superior in a certain way. In short, it is always right for them to show respect. It's okay, I was too impatient, as for this one here. Cynthia first generously took the responsibility to her side, without blaming them for their late arrival. Then she looked at Jimo with some hesitation, and said hesitantly. It's my friend Jimo. When she said this, Cynthia was a little confused. What is the relationship between her and Jimo? A stranger you just happened to meet. That would be too unfamiliar for her to say it. Former idol. No kidding, she still has face for Cynthia. After struggling for a long time, Cynthia finally defined the relationship between each other as simple, friends. After all, the scope of the word friend is quite broad. Cynthia pursed her lips, a little embarrassed. She chose to skip this embarrassing question. She stretched out Bai Shengsheng's seemingly reflective fingers, pointed to the trio who were frozen like a piece of wood, and said, Officer Jenny, those three over there are the purpose of our visit this time, the three executives of Team Galactic. Team Galactic. The familiar term immediately diverted Officer Jenny's attention from between the two of them. She raised her head suddenly, and Normal's gaze swept towards the three of them like a sharp sword. Officer Jenny's eyes were cold. It's these guys that make them come out to work overtime in this winter. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Being stared at by so many members of the Alliance with murderous eyes at the same time, even Zhengxing and the others couldn't bear it. The three of them showed smiles that were uglier than crying, and looked at Jimo who was standing with Cynthia for help. If Jimo doesn't help, they will really be caught and sent to jail. Give it to me. Catch them all. Officer Jenny waved her arms in a murderous spirit, and soon several members of the Alliance surrounded her. Like a vicious wolf, the police officers stared at the three of them with their green eyes. If you catch them, you don't have to stay in this cold ghost place, you can go back to get off work and take a vacation. Being stared at by such eyes, the three of Zhengxing couldn't help feeling a little hairy. They looked at the surrounding police officers vigilantly, and at the same time kept copying Jimo's help-seeking glances. In the end, Jimo sighed helplessly. Things have developed to the point where, if he doesn't want to give up all his previous efforts, then he can only take action. Officer Jenny, stop it. Under everyone's suspicious eyes, Jimo stepped forward and stood in front of them. Now, please allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Jimo and it's the new leader of Team Galactic. The expression on Cynthia's face was a little stiff. She stared blankly at Jimo who stood in front of her in a white robe, and waved her white and tender palms in a panic. Jimo, what are you talking about? What is the new leader of Team Galactic? You must be joking, right? Her eyes were full of expectation, and she looked at Jimo in front of her without blinking, hoping to get a negative answer. But, even with Cynthia's gaze on him, the expression on Jimo's face didn't change the slightest. And that extremely plain appearance is undoubtedly equivalent to telling everyone. He's not kidding, he's serious. Seeing Jimo like this, Cynthia's heart was even more shaken. Her heart was throbbing, her pupils were trembling violently, she just felt that Jimo is so strange now, so indifferent. The new leader of Team Galactic, no matter how you say it, this joke is too big. Cynthia was in a daze, she muttered to herself in a daze. Officer Jenny's face was serious, she didn't know what happened between Jimo and Cynthia. But she knew that with just one sentence from Jimo, Cynthia's will was shaken. Immediately, Officer Jenny turned around and looked at Jimo nervously. The new leader of Team Galactic. It's not just Officer Jenny, but the Alliance personnel who originally planned to arrest Zhenxing and the other three. At this moment, under Officer Jenny's gaze, some people were separated to surround Jimo. Pokémon such as Growlithe and Arcanine also surrounded Jimo, making a low roar from their throats. Jimo, the leader of Team Galactic, capture him without a fight. Officer Jenny frowned, looked solemnly at Jimo who seemed to have no tension at all and said in a deep voice. At the same time, her attention turned to Jimo's side from time to time. The huge and fierce Garchomp made it impossible for her to ignore it. It's just this time. Officer Jenny's eyes were insignificantly turned to Cynthia beside her. The Sinnoh champion is the strongest force they have come here this time. They thought that with the strength of the Sinnoh champion, they basically came to fight. But I didn't expect that it would become her main attack now. No way. Officer Jenny sighed helplessly, even she could see it. The relationship between Cynthia and Jimo seems to be very delicate, and because of Jimo's status, Cynthia is obviously not in the contest condition now. Jimo also looked at Cynthia who seemed to have lost the will to fight in surprise, and he was also a little surprised. I didn't expect that the exposure of my identity would have such a serious impact on Cynthia. But now, so many Pokémon have been dispatched in this way. I'm really honored. He looked around him with some admiration. Red's Growlithe series Pokémon were particularly conspicuous in White's icy world. Turning his eyes to the tense faces around him and the many people and Pokémon surrounding him, Jimo said calmly. Can we just leave in peace like this? If possible, I don't really want to engage in unnecessary battles. Leaving aside those high-level dregs of the Alliance, as far as Jimo knows, the Jenny family and the Joey family may be rare in the Alliance, without any filthy big families. They really love this world. Jimo didn't want to fight them pointlessly if they could just back off like that. But, don't even think about it. A dark organization like Team Galactic is the enemy of all Alliance members. Sure enough, under Jimo's gaze, Officer Jenny looked solemn, but she rejected her idea without hesitation. Afterwards, she pondered for a moment, and added tentatively. But Mr. Jimo, if you are willing to go back with us just like this, in the name of Jenny, I will fight for preferential treatment for you. Jimo doesn't want pointless fights, so why don't they? After all. Officer Jenny glanced at Garchomp, who had a fierce aura aside. The guy's aura made her feel extremely heavy. Hearing this, Jimo couldn't help raising his eyebrows, looking at the stern-looking figure in front of him with some surprise. Compared with other dregs who don't care about their own reputation at all, only have interests in mind, and can even violate Alliance regulations for the sake of interests. Officer Jenny attaches great importance to the surname, Jenny. This is an existence heavier than their lives. Pity. Jimo shook his head. Although the other party was quite sincere, he didn't intend to honestly catch him without a fight. Hearing Officer Jenny's words, Cynthia also seemed to be injected with a new force suddenly. She raised her head suddenly, her eyes flashed with anticipation, and looked at Jimo. Yeah, Jimo. There must be some misunderstanding here. She still can't believe it. The Jimo I longed for and pursued turned out to be the leader of the evil organization Team Galactic. There must be some misunderstanding. As long as the misunderstanding is resolved, Jimo will definitely become the righteous and invincible trainer she saw on TV before. You come back to the Pokémon Alliance with us. As long as you clear up the misunderstanding, you will not be punished. I vouch for the champion of Sinnoh. Hearing this, Officer Jenny looked at Cynthia even more in surprise. Guaranteed in the name of the champion. There was an inexplicable color in her eyes, and now she believed that there were some intriguing relationships between Cynthia and the mysterious Mr. Jimo. But those are their private affairs, not important. Now the focus is on Jimo. The three of Zhengxing have completely forgotten the situation they are in at this moment, and they have perfectly displayed the enthusiasm of the people who eat melons. They are very interested in gossip about Jimo. Although I am very grateful to Officer Jenny and Ms. Cynthia for their love, I am afraid that I will not be blessed to accept it. I don't intend to go back to that dirty place in Alliance. Jimo refused without hesitation. Just kidding, he finally found a chance to take a shot against Team Galactic, how could he give up so easily? And he didn't want to go to that filthy place again. Even if you go back, you won't go back in this way. Back. Dirty. Two key words made Cynthia and Officer Jenny frown. They looked at Jimo, who seemed to have an unknown past with Alliance. You know, the Pokemon Alliance is definitely the representative of Wei Guangzhong in the eyes of 99% of the world. And the disgust in Jimo's words is so obvious, which is intriguing. Officer Jenny's face was serious, no matter what Jimo's past was. Now he is the enemy. There are those over there. Why don't you leave and stay here? Are you waiting for prison food? Jimo was speechless about the Zhengxing trio. What did he come out to reveal his identity? Why not let the three of them run away quickly? Well now, I'm actually watching a play here. Oh. A few people reacted belatedly, and hurriedly planned to leave, but dense Alliance personnel and Pokemon have surrounded them. Jimo put his hand on his forehead helplessly. I can't wait any longer. When I go back this time, I will quickly step up the grassroots construction of Team Galactic members. His blood pressure was almost raised by these people. Garchomp, Dragon Stars. The energy of the dragon system gathers, and the bright dragon meteor is gradually formed, but at the moment when it is about to be completed. Garchomp, Dragon's Claw. An awe-inspiring shout resounded in this icy and snowy land. Cynthia Garchomp's arm fins are entwined with cyan dragon-type energy, forming a ferocious dragon claw. Dragon Claw. The sharp dragon claw pierced the air, made a screeching sound, and struck towards Jimo's Garchomp. Faced with such a sudden attack, Garchomp had no choice but to give up continuing to use the Dragon Star group, and turn to gather the Dragon Claw to fight. Boom! Two ferocious dragon claws collided in midair, bursting out a powerful wave of air. The Iceris on the ground and in the air were swept by this strong wind and spread out in all directions, revealing the naked ground below. Crack! Click! Two Garchomps wrestled on the snow, while Jimo turned his gaze to Cynthia. I saw that the Sinnoh champion was looking awe-inspiring at the moment, just like the real Valkyrie normal. This is the battle contest condition of the esoteric champion Cynthia. Jimo, although I don't know what happened during the year you disappeared, and why you became like this. But, as she spoke, Cynthia's gaze sharpened sharply, and she couldn't avoid looking directly at Jimo. Team Galactic is an evil organization after all. I will pull you back on the right path. In the name of Champion Sinnoh. Jimo raised his brows, this Miss Champion seems to be unexpectedly persistent. Still, pulling back on the right path. Jimo's eyes suddenly became deep, it seems that it is not impossible. But instead of returning to Alliance, he turned Alliance into his one-word hall. By then, wouldn't he be back on track? But thinking about it in his heart, Jimo didn't stop talking. On track. Champion of Cynthia, do you think Alliance is the so-called correct? What they did was really justice. Hearing this, Officer Jenny couldn't help but look at Cynthia at the side. The leaders of these terrorist organizations are really good at ignoring Hiroto. What exactly is Alliance? As a member of the Jenny family, doesn't she still know? Although there are many people like their Jenny family, there are also many people who have been corrupted by money and power. There was concern in her eyes, the Sinnoh champion was still young after all, she probably wouldn't. Relax, Officer Jenny. Seemingly aware of Officer Jenny's gaze, Cynthia turned around and gave her a reassuring look. Although I don't know why you are so hostile towards Alliance, and I don't know what Alliance has done. But I know. Now the Alliance is guarding the world. Even if the Alliance may have some shadows, that is definitely not the reason for you to join Team Galactic. Although she is not very old, she has not participated in the dirty work of the Alliance high level. But she knew that no matter what, Joining Team Galactic was a mistake. Officer Jenny couldn't help showing a strange look when she heard the words. Although the Sinnoh champion was young, she was surprisingly transparent. Yes, even though the Alliance has many bad things, it is still maintaining the world after all. It is not comparable to dark organizations like Team Galactic. Does the Alliance guard the world? Jimo murmured softly, I really hope that by that time, you can also say these words with such confidence. At the same time, the Zhengxing trio on the side complained endlessly. Although their strength is very good, even comparable to gymnasium owners, but there are so many people on the other side. They don't have the strength to crush them, and their two fists are hard to beat with four hands. Not to mention that the main players of Huoxing and Suixing were defeated by Jimo's Garchomp just now. Now they are barely supporting by relying on their own strength, otherwise they would have died long ago. Zhengxing looked at Jimo who was chatting in the distance. What the hell are you still talking about? If you don't make a move, your lovely subordinate will be caught and eaten in prison. The mentality of the partners in Suixing is even a bit broken. Since they met Jimo, they haven't encountered a good thing. If I can escape from here today, I will hide from this Jimo all my life. What the hell? Thanks for watching.